So welcome to our Inspire the Next Generation, Empower Your Organisation event. My name is Anna Christie. I'm the Chief Executive at the Sussex Chamber. I'd like to welcome you all. There will be an opportunity to ask questions, engage, share ideas and best practice to support each other, and also find out more about how you can get involved with Love Local Jobs. Please do share your updates on social media, and if you can, just tag us in at Sussex Chamber. Sorry, I believe there's a couple people. I just need to put a few people on mute. Sorry. Okay, so many young people have been impacted more so over the last 18 months than ever before, whether it's their education being impacted or studying from home, which has not been possible for some due to affordability, accessibility to equipment or laptops, or even the internet, or for safety reasons, they haven't been able to continue with their education at home. This is an opportunity through the Love Local Jobs Foundation to really make a difference, to raise aspirations of local communities. The foundation has helped thousands of young people and supported hundreds of businesses. The foundation leverages on the positivity, influence, and incredible inspiration of local businesses and influencers to engage and inspire young people to become the best possible versions of themselves. I'd like to introduce you to Paul Scrivens, who's the Commercial Director at LoveLocalJobs.com and LoveLocalJobsFoundation CIC. Paul is an established business leader with 14 years experience in online media, digital marketing, classifieds, publishing, and recruitment. Since joining the fantastic team at Love Local Jobs, Paul has been increasingly passionate about making the difference beyond the boardroom and helping to raise the aspirations of our local communities. Please welcome Paul.
Cool. Wow, that's not a bad introduction, is it? So, A, I won't be able to fit my head out the door after this meeting. Thank you very much, Anna. And B, I mean, mic drop, you've said everything, right? I can leave now. That's everything that you'll need to know. But yeah, no, jokes aside, thank you to you, Anna, in the Chamber for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to engage with so many people. I think what I intend to do over the next few slides is just give you a nice insight into us and who we are and what we do, and the impact that can make, not just for young people and the communities that you and your businesses operate in, but also, you know, for you and your people, which has always proven to be incredibly powerful. And it's something that we're very passionate about. You know, I think the work that the foundation does at Love Local Jobs has really become the heartbeat of our organisation because of the nature and the way it gets under your skin and into your heart, really. So I'm really looking forward to walking you guys through that. And obviously off the back of that, anybody, you know, is interested in finding out more or getting involved, you know, I'd be delighted to have a conversation. I was saying to Anna before the call kicked on, you know, it's a really important period of time for us over the next few months because, you know, in the summer months that lead up to the new academic year, we'll be looking to forge as many of the relationships with people and organisations as we can to help support as many schools and young people as possible. But anyway, let me embrace technology and fire into my screen share so I can share my slides with you. So hopefully you should all be able to see that. Anna, I'm going to look to you for the that all is as it should be. Good. Okie doke. So yeah, we'll talk about both those things really, you know, how you can do something, you know, that's a, you know, a really good thing to do, and, you know, something that means a lot to a lot of people at a difficult time. But how there's a win-win in terms of the benefits that your organisation can enjoy as a result of being involved. So just before I get too far into it, I'll just give you a quick potted history of LoveLocalJobs.com. I'm sure many of you will be aware of us, but the original business was launched 10 years ago. LoveLocalJobs.com is a regionally specific job board. So I think at the moment we've got about 1,200 jobs that are advertised on there. You know, and our USPs really are that we're specific to Sussex. And I think over the last 10 years, it's safe to say we've built a really good local reputation. And more importantly, excuse me, a community, both in terms of the job seekers that use the site and the organisations that use it to recruit. And I think that network that we've established is a key driver really into how we've evolved over the years into the work we do through the foundation, where ultimately we try to bring together those relationships, particularly from the world of work, to give young people and schools insights into what the future and employment can look like, and the skills and qualities that will essentially help them to be successful. We have had the honour and privilege of working with some really amazing local organisations. So this is taken from our supporters page, which obviously leads with the headline brands, but it also goes right through to small SMEs and one-man bands that have been keen to get involved in what we do as well. Because I think with the smaller businesses that we work with, I think it's lovely because you can get the owner and the CEO and the managing director involved in something that obviously when you're dealing with companies the size of American Express, it's unlikely that the same is going to be the case. So in terms of why we're here, I've just got over the next few slides a few stats to kind of just frame up what things look like at the moment. So what we have historically done has really always been about trying to better prepare young people for the world of work. And that has come from feedback from employers that we work with, particularly some of the larger ones that are continually giving feedback that the next generation of workforce coming through just aren't work ready and lack some of the basic skills that enable them not only to be successful in the role, but for organisations to retain them in the role, which obviously adds, additional pressure from a recruitment point of view and the time and cost implications that has. So that's the sort of beginning of our journey, really, of why we got into it and why that bridge from the job board to the foundation began to grow. But it's a kind of trifactor now, because if you take a look at the landscape for young people over recent years, you can also add in, in addition to the pressures of growing up and all that comes with it, hormones and exams and all the usual anxieties, you add in that additional pressure cooker that social media creates, and it's a very different landscape. I don't know how many people on the call have got kids or have got teenage kids or have seen teenage kids go through that journey. My daughter is 9 years old, and the prospect of being on social media absolutely terrifies me because of the stuff that we see in these programs and the stuff that we hear kids talking about. And then the third element of that trifactor is the pandemic. And some of the stats that I'm going to show you in a second come from a variety of national charities that, you don't need me to tell you, you'll have seen this, you'll have heard this, and just Google and you'll find just an alarming amount of research and studies and impacts. But just to frame up what we're talking about here, here's a stat from Young Minds and a quote. So this is a mental health charity, and I think that really kind of, frames up the kind of challenges that young people are going to have to be thinking about because of the pandemic, on top of the pressures of growing up. This is from another charity, UK Youth, and these are the 8 areas that they're experiencing most difficulties with. And again, I don't need to read them to you, but just take a moment to cast your eye over some of those. And something that I would perhaps encourage you to think about is, we have historically worked with students from a mentoring perspective who are disengaged. And that disengagement now spreads far and wide because kids from all sorts of backgrounds are being affected by some of these 8 issues that are on the screen in front of you, rather than it necessarily being about ones that are coming from more difficult circumstances. And then a few more stats from the Prince's Trust. And obviously these talk more about their aspirations and their perceptions of what the future will hold for them, rather than the immediate impact and the difficulties that the pandemic has presented through school closures and isolating and difficult circumstances outside of school, etc. So, obviously that's fairly heartbreaking, right? And you sort of put yourself in the shoes of, well, I do, I think about, my daughter and, do I want her to feel like she'll never succeed in life? Absolutely not. Do I want her to feel like she'll never have a job that she loves? Absolutely not. And do I feel like there's any reason that she should think that? No. So am I committed to giving her support so she doesn't feel like that? Yes. But, there's a lot of kids that just don't have access to positive role models and positive experiences that will, keep them focused throughout those difficult years when, as I said, you've only got to throw hormones into the mix. And before you even get into social media and the pandemic, it's a challenging time of life for everybody to learn and grow and find yourself. And then finally, I've just showed you some stats from a selection of UK-wide national charities. So this is a snapshot of our founder, a chap called Gary Peters, who I know some of you on the call know well. So Gary, is the founder of LoveLocalJobs.com and the founder of the Love Local Jobs Foundation. And his driver behind all of that comes from his own experiences of being a bit disengaged at school and not really being sure where he was headed. And he always cites one person in particular who gave him an opportunity when nobody else would, because they recognized qualities in him, and has gone from strength to strength because of that belief and that support and the opportunities that came as a result of it. So Gary, is very hands-on. He was out in a school last week doing a session with 100 young people, which I can't say he does all the time, but I think is a really nice example of how, as an organization, we really do try to sort of practice what we preach. And some of you may have seen his post on LinkedIn a couple of days later. So I just did a quick copy and paste of it. So this is what kids told him in that session last Friday from Shoreham Academy. And not only does it align with what the national charities are saying, but it just shows that, the kids on our doorstep are feeling these things and some, which is, I think, just for me, when I read stuff like that, it makes me kind of double down on my personal desire to want to be able to support as many kids in as many schools in our local community as we can. So just to bring all of this into context, and here's where I'm hoping technology is going to be my friend. I did test this with a colleague beforehand and it works. The famous last words. I've embedded a video. It's 3 minutes long. And rather than me banging on for too long about what we actually do as a foundation, I'm hoping this will play with sound and you guys can get just a decent flavor about, if you think of the context of some of those things that I've just shown you, how the work that we do aims to address that and will continue to address it going forward. So here we go, moment of truth. Anna, thumbs up.
It's improved my happiness and my confidence massively.
I think it's just helped me out mentally, physically and socially.
You can see the positive effect it has on people's mental health and how they feel about themselves in general.
It's just so rewarding being able to help people, point them in the right direction.
I've really enhanced my own confidence and my own happiness.
Really, really unbelievable.
Focus on the things you can control, and if you learn that now, it will stand you in good stead, not just for the coming months, but as I say, for when you start your working careers as well.
It's helped my confidence a bit for the future.
It felt like a weight off my shoulder. I feel like I'm in a different mindset and I feel like I can be true to myself.
I never used to be as confident, I feel like it's pushed me a couple of steps further. Both my business guys were great.
The way they've responded to us has been really inspiring, because they're able to see, actually, no, we're not very different from you, and you can be where you want to be just as we have.
I've seen a change in our students as a whole group and also individually. I can see that people have gained confidence, they've learnt from today.
The experience hopefully will give them, it'll enable them to develop leadership skills, communication skills, and take responsibility at quite a high level.
I've spoken to 3 or 4 young people who are having really challenging life stories. They're coping, they're able to talk about it, and this is a way of them doing that outside of the school, outside of their peer group.
I'm reflecting and thinking, wow, I've actually come a long way, and you can too.
The talent's on our doorstep, we're just not unlocking that talent. So there's a role and an opportunity for us as an employer locally to help put something back into the communities in which we work and where we live.
It's been the most inspirational, challenging, rewarding thing I've ever done.
Spending time with the kids in their schools, seeing the growth, you can see them growing in confidence. It's been one of the best things I've ever been involved with.
It's enhanced my listening skills. It's made me look at things from different angles.
I've gained a lot of confidence and an understanding of other people. It's a very freeing experience.
I've made a lot of friends here. It's the best experience you can get.
It will help me make better friend choices.
I think it helped me just to believe in myself a little more, and it gave me a bit of hope of what I'm going to do in the future.
It's something that will help me for the rest of my life.
So I'm just going to spend a couple of slides now just talking about the program that we're currently running to try and kind of bring that together. So the program for the new academic year will follow on as a development of what we've been delivering in this academic year. It's a program called Dare to Dream, aimed at changing the way young people think, ultimately helping kids to fulfill their potential, and really kind of focusing on the qualities and the skills that are going to help them to be successful, you know, in whatever it is they want to do, whether they want a career as a rocket scientist, or whether they want to be a professional footballer, or whether they want to be a builder, or whether they haven't got a clue what they want to do. It's just about trying to kind of build the mindset and the soft skills that are going to help them to be successful in whatever it is they pursue, and to inspire them to want to do it, you know, and to help raise their aspirations and make them feel that even if they're not getting straight A's in English, maths and science, that they can still have a phenomenal future and do some amazing things. And as I said, you know, for a lot of these kids, you know, having somebody to put that in front of them isn't something that they've got access to. So it can make a massive difference. And a key thing I think within that is the part that the businesses play, by way of their people taking part in the mentoring side of the programs, is it's not mum, it's not dad, it's not a carer, it's not a teacher, you know, and that really does help the message land in a different way. Because I don't know if anybody has seen the Jennifer Garner film, Yesterday, but it's basically the premise of the film is she gets sick of telling her kids no all the time, and she does a deal with her kids where she spends the entire day where she can only say yes. Well, as you can imagine, carnage ensues, but there's a positive story at the end of it, and I think, you know, in that situation, the teachers and the parents are the ones that are constantly having to be, you know, the disciplinarians. So, you know, for an inspirational speaker and a business guide from an amazing employer with a story to tell to come in and be the person to inject that positivity and that encouragement, you know, it really has proven to be incredibly powerful over the last 6 or 7 years that we've been delivering these programs. So the way that comes together is through a mixture of inspirational deliveries. So you can see in the top left photo there, our lead speaker for the Dare to Dream program is a chap called Jack the Lad, who any of you who've listened to Heart over the years will know as the host of the breakfast show for think some 15 years. He's now on More Radio, incredibly charismatic guy, but also with quite a heartbreaking story of his own to tell as a youngster, that, you know, he has come through the other side to have this phenomenal career in media, and some lovely anecdotes of interviewing Cheryl Cole and things like that to help get the students' attention. So, you know, he's a real asset to the foundation to be on board with us and helping to deliver these inspirational messages of employability around his own personal journey and amongst his kind of, you know, charismatic way of entertaining people. And that's bolstered by a range of workshop activities, one-to-one mentoring, workplace tour, supportive resources in terms of workbooks and other materials that can help guide both students and business guides through the journey. And in some cases, the opportunity to provide and issue digital badges as a recognition of the process that they've taken part in. And measurable feedback as I put on the end, because I'm always aware when I go on these calls, it's inevitable that there'll be somebody that will feel it's a bit fluffy and it's a bit hand-holdy. And I've got a few stats later on, but just to reassure everybody on today's call, you know, as I said, we've been doing this for a long time now, and we've learned, you know, what the sort of key impacts are, and we track everything in detail with the students, with the schools, with the businesses from start to finish. So by the end of it, in every single program that we deliver, there is always a measurable impact that it's had for all the parties that have been involved in it. And I think it's important for people to know that, because if that wasn't there, if we couldn't be so confident of that effect, then I don't think we'd have been able to support the thousands of kids and work with the hundreds of businesses that we do, because, you know, you need to know like something like this is helping to make a difference. So just as a quick sort of tick list of some of those impacts that you'll see, you know, these are some of the key kind of findings that we have where it's proven to help young people be more positive about their future, help to build their confidence and their self-belief so that they understand that they have potential today and on their journey as they move forward through education and through into their careers. To really understand those key elements of employability character that employers will look for. You know, we'll talk about the relationship between grades and character. And as I'm sure most of you will know, either from being on the, you know, on the candidate side of the table or the employer side of the table, you know, grades, you know, it will get you a foot in the door, but it won't get you a job. You know, it's the person who you are and the experiences that you have that will make somebody invest in you and bring you into their organization. And even more importantly, you know, it's having those qualities that will make you good once you get into that organization. So, you know, we talk a lot about not just getting into the room, but staying there and opening more doors once you're there. You know, it's proven to provide insights into the local world of work. You know, as I mentioned, you know, for some of these kids, there is no way that they would have an insight into some of these organizations. And what's also interesting is even if they know who a company is, often they don't have any understanding of the different types of jobs that are being done there. You know, so, oh, well, you know, they're an insurance company, so, you know, they do insurance, but there's this person that does HR, and this person that does marketing, and this person that does coding, and this person does finance, and so on and so forth, you know. So I think just helping them understand, you know, I can definitely relate to that, to my time as a youngster, when I'd drive past these offices with shiny windows and I'd be like, what goes on in there? Like, what could all those people possibly be doing? You know, so providing a bit of context is a really important part of what we do. And as I've mentioned a lot, you know, just being encouraged and supported, you know, and pointed in the right direction and being told that you can do it, you know, can be incredibly powerful, particularly, you know, when you get into some of the students that are coming from disengaged situations and disadvantaged backgrounds. From a school perspective, you know, it makes a real difference for them, because whilst she might only be influencing 15 or 20 students, the inspirational talks that we deliver are to an entire year group, so they can really help to facilitate a cultural shift. So it helps them, you know, improve behavior, engagement and attainment, which collectively, you know, the amount of time and effort that can save them so that they can focus on their strengths as educators can make a real positive difference to the schools. And also from a Gatsby benchmarks, I don't know, I'm sure some of you will be aware of the Gatsby benchmarks, but they're essentially a set of guidelines that help better prepare young people, you know, for the world of work. and they're now used in how schools are measured and how their Ofsted rating is calculated. So, you know, that's a big help that is now there, and the schools are aware of that, and interactions like this that help them move towards that. Because, you know, for a lot of the schools, they recognize that, you know, they're academic institutions, you know, and they're all, you know, the way that they're set up and geared is to focus on subjects and exams, you know, so they don't have the ability to provide these types of insights. So it's a massive help to them. And creating partnerships, you know, again, it's not what a school's strength is, but once those relationships are there with local businesses, you know, another point Anna and I were talking about at the beginning of the call, you know, we don't profess to have all the answers. You know, we're very proud of what we do, and we're very happy that it can make an impact for so many. But there's millions of different things that can be done of this nature, you know. And from a business perspective, you know, once you build that strong relationship, you know, having the capacity to talk about work experience and apprenticeships, and you know, careers days that are specific to certain industry types, you know, that they're all kind of common feeders that stem from this really sort of like rewarding and enriching environment that we try and deliver the programs within. So this is a bit of a random slide from you. I'm giving away my age a little bit, and probably my few explanations for my dodgy haircut. So don't know if anybody remembers the New Radicals, a band from the 90s. You know, I wouldn't say they were the Beatles or anything like that, but they had a song called "You Get What You Give," which I guess tees up the next point. So we've always, as a foundation, taken a pride in trying to just be upfront about the fact that, you know, it's okay for it not to be a selfless good deed. You know, is there even such thing as a selfless good deed? You know, I think everybody has to some degree think about themselves. And we recognize that, you know, when we're asking businesses, you know, to put their hands in their pockets and support this, you know, through, you know, financial resources, through their people's time, you know, where we can, it's good for that to benefit them, as well as just doing a good thing in the community. So we try to make it a double-edged sword. So I've got a few things that will frame up why this can really help you at the moment. I think Anna put this on the introduction. So 2/3 of employees are currently feeling disengaged. I mean, I thought about doing a show of hands. I don't even think we need to. I'll raise my hand and say that I have definitely felt isolated from the organization. And I think I've spoken pretty passionately about how much I love what I do, and I love what we're able to achieve. There's been days in the last 18 months when I've been sat in my daughter's bedroom surrounded by unicorns and all things that sparkle, just sort of sat in my chair going, what is this all about, really? So I'm not surprised by that stat, you know, and I think any opportunity where you can build engagement with your people is really important right now. And I think that's going to continue. I think that's going to continue to be important, because nobody's going to be charging back into the workplace. The landscape has changed, end of, you know, so ways that you can build that continuity and that relationship with your people are going to be incredibly powerful. And I thought I'd just include this slide in, because I thought it was a nice, you know, when you hear people talk about staff engagement, such a broad topic, you know, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? So, you know, if you just have a look at some of the segments here, you know, staff engagement, it's about the relationship staff have with their manager. You know, it's about how they feel about the leadership of the organization that they work with. And that in turn, you know, goes down to the, you know, the way that they feel about the company that they work for. You know, whether they feel that they're growing and developing as a person is a key part of engagement. That interaction with the team is a key part. Their physical and their mental well-being is a key part of it. The fair deal side of things is, you know, package, remuneration, benefits, perks, etc. And obviously that's going to be an element of, you know, how engaged they're feeling, and then giving something back. That sense of purpose is always going to be a factor in it as well. So, you know, as we go through some of the other stuff that I'm going to talk about, just have a think about those things. But just in the context of the point I've just made, you know, all of those things, it becomes more challenging when people are working remotely and are isolated because of, you know, the way that the whole world, let alone the working landscape, has had to operate, you know. So let's just keep those in context, and we'll revisit those again in a couple of slides time. So this is I think a quote from an HR director at John Lang, which is a big investment PLC, huge British organisation. And I think the point made there, you know, to find ways to embed culture, to create a sense of belonging and connection among a distributed workforce, I guess just further kind of emphasises the point that I'm making about engaging with your people. This is from McKinsey & Co, who are a big research organisation. And this links to that sense of purpose. So, you know, ultimately, sense of purpose, it's not a new thing. It's been growing for some years now. It's becoming an increasing part of the employer landscape. You know, whether you're trying to hire people or whether you're trying to retain people or whether you're trying to motivate people that you've already got, you know, giving them a sense of purpose it was already on the charge and had been for some time. And I wouldn't say to the extent that all of what we're doing now and Teams and Zoom was just forced to explode overnight, but it's a similar catalyst in everything that's happened, where that sense of purpose, I think, you know, if you look not just in some of the work-based stuff that I've just teed up for you, but you just think about what we've all seen, you know, on a personal level and the impact that that's had. I think that sense of purpose, you know, is significantly bigger now as a requirement for you people than it was pre-pandemic. And just to frame that up, I've stuck a couple of quotes in from programs from people that we've worked with, just to kind of tee up how that can play its part by being involved in what we do. I've been professionally and personally inspired by the program and only feel disappointed that it's come to an end. I believe every school, every child should have the opportunity to get involved. It's been truly amazing. And the program has been brilliant, rewarding and a challenging experience. The impact on students is clearly visible at our last meeting, and it's amazing to think that by giving up a small amount of time, we've given a young person the confidence and courage to feel happy and optimistic for their future. So I'll share with you a little insight. I sent an email out to the team and said, oh, could you just send me a few quotes that we've got from business guides for a presentation that I'm doing tomorrow? And I clicked the link to this Excel sheet. And it's just like, it's like death by quantity, because that's literally just, you know, the tip of the iceberg. That kind of feedback is very, very common from the people that are involved in what we do, because it does make you feel so good. And the best way I can kind of describe it is, you know, you think of the reflective process of talking about all your own experiences, whether that be at school, in life, the workplace, you know, all the challenges that you've had to overcome, all the things that you've achieved, and packaging that all up in a really sort of positive way that fits the inspiring nature of the program content that's been delivered. It's a kind of, it's like a reset, reformat button for you. It encourages you to look at everything in a glass half full rather than glass half empty way. And I think that's why people take so much out of being involved in it. And again, you know, some statistical impacts from one of the programs that we've just delivered. You know, 93% agreed or strongly agreed that they felt more positive about their own organisation. 92% agreed or strongly agreed that they felt more positive about their job. 92% agreed or strongly agreed that the experience had improved their training and coaching skills. And 78% agreed or strongly agreed that taking part had improved their management skills. So, you know, just think of some of those words and those stats, and then come back to this diagram. And I think, you know, what we do, it really does give your people a huge amount, because, you know, improving coaching and management skills can help satisfy that first one. You know, by virtue of giving them the opportunity, you know, you're showing leadership, and it's going to build goodwill for the way that they feel about your company. You know, personal growth, yes, because it's taken them out of their comfort zone and it's given them all those experiences that I've just spoken about. Teamwork has been a big one this year, because they don't necessarily have to be on the same team, but the opportunity to come together with others in their business, you know, when they're working from home or isolated or haven't had that interaction, has been hugely valuable to people this year. You know, well-being, not physical well-being, but mental well-being, 1,000,000%. You know, I've got quotes from people that say that they feel like they're a better parent now for being involved in it, because of the own personal takeaways that they've had of being involved in the program. Fair deal, obviously, there's nothing we can do about that. That's down to you know, you and your staff in terms of their packages, etc. And sense of purpose, obviously, is the biggest one, isn't it? You know, that's absolutely what we do. So for something to tick all bar one of those boxes, I think is a really nice way to kind of showcase how it's not just about doing a good deed, you genuinely are doing something that's going to help make your organization more successful as well. And then, you know, just to add a couple of extra layers on that, you know, those things are going to help you retain and motivate your staff, but they're also going to help you to attract. You know, you're building a larger and more diverse future talent pipeline by getting in front of kids that perhaps don't know about your industry. I spoke to a woman yesterday who runs a print company who's having a real period of growth, you know, and everybody assumes print is dead. And, you know, there's universities that have removed it from, you know, part of the curriculum within certain media qualifications. Yet, you know, here's a company that's growing and needs to hire people, and actually getting in front of, you know, kids on their doorstep that are going to be their workforce in a year or two's time, you know, is potentially a real kind of asset for them, you know. And even if it's not about, you know, specifically targeting the people that you're supporting, the young people that you're supporting, again, just think about the narrative in your community, you know, and that sense of purpose and the leadership that you're showing and the goodwill that builds for the company. That's going to help you attract the people that you need right now, because if there's a choice between an organization that does all of those things and a choice of an organization that doesn't do any of those things, the modern candidate is always going to lean towards the organization that does do those things. I've just included a few snippets here of, you know, how we shout about it. You know, an advantage we have in having not just the foundation, but also having LoveLocalJobs.com, as I mentioned at the beginning, is we have that audience, both, you know, candidates and commercially, where we can shout about the stuff that's involved. And we do that through our networks. I think I've included an e-shot to our database on the one side, a news article on our website on the other, a LinkedIn post there in the middle. And obviously we use Twitter and Facebook and so on and so forth. But then also, you know, there's an article that Gatwick Diamond picked up, and an article, the Creston Reeves one there, I think was out of Sussex Chambers Edge publication. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunities just through our own network to shout about what's been involved. But then obviously, you know, within organizations, promoting internally and through your own PR networks, there's an opportunity to really beat the drum about what you're being involved in. And why I'd recommend you do that is because, you know, building your reputation and your trust and your credibility locally can be really valuable, not just from an employment perspective in terms of attracting talent and retaining talent, but from a commercial perspective as well, because we'll all know who this guy is, right? So Facebook was listed on a recent survey as one of the top 5 most disliked brands of 2021. I don't know if any of you have seen any of the footage of poor old Zuckerberg getting absolutely grilled in the Senate and various other things. So, you know, they've had a torrid time, and, you know, young people are flooding to TikTok. You know, as a brand, you know, their credibility has absolutely plummeted. Whereas on the flip side, one of the top 5 brands for reputation was Disney, who have given $350 million to organizations that help the disadvantaged. And the article that I read about it was, you know, really heartwarming about the whole range of stuff that they've done well. So I think you've just got to think about, on a local level, you know, the positivity and the goodwill that you can drive. And again, you know, I always link that back, because I think it's only fair to be upfront about anybody that supports these programs that we do. Yes, you're doing something amazing, you know, and you are helping change the lives of local young people. And let's be honest, at a time when they've never needed that support more. But you're getting a hell of a lot out of it as an organization, you know, for your brand, for your reputation, for your credibility, for your awareness, for your people, for the way that you engage with them, for your ability to hire and attract and retain. There's a huge amount of payback there that comes from being involved. And I can't say that, you know, we're the only outlet to offer that, but obviously I can only talk about it from the context that I understand, which is the work that we do and the programs that we run. So the good news is that's the last slide. You all get to stop listening to me banging on, but we need your help. We can only do these programs with the backing of local organizations. I'm blown away every year by the generosity and support of organisations and people that come forward. So my details are there. I'm sure they'll be circulated in the follow-up for this. Please do get in touch if you would like to find out more. And if it's not something that you're in a position to do, I get that. You know, I know it's not been a particularly good economic period for a lot of companies, where in other cases that there's been some positives. But you know, if you're not in the position where you can support, maybe there's people in your network who could. You know, there's suppliers and customers and organizations who could get behind something like this, because the reality is the more businesses that we can work with, the more schools we can support, the more schools we can support, the more young people we can support, and so on and so forth. And, you know, from a numbers point of view, you know, little old us, you know, we're a team of 6 people. For April, May and June, we supported 2,500 kids. You know, I'm really proud of that. But we've got an aspirational goal for the next academic year. We'd like to get Dare to Dream into every single secondary school. Well, we did 22 this academic year, which is a bit down. It'd normally be about 30, 35, you know. So I need some more people to come to the table if I can go that extra mile. So if you can help with that, I would be absolutely delighted to hear from you and tell you a bit more about it. But yeah, I'll shut up now and I guess we'll move to questions.
Thank you so much, Paul. I can relate to some of those issues that you were discussing with young people, or mentioned in terms of their mental health and how they can feel disengaged and lack that trust and that confidence. A lot of young people have been impacted even more so in the last 18 months. And I've got a 19-year-old myself, and I know that it's been challenging. Just, okay, he's been fortunate to have work, but it's working virtually and remotely. And so he hasn't been able to build up the friendships at work. And then, like you said, they've missed out on the opportunities to socialize a lot as friends and to really get to, you know, meet each other and everything. And they really have been impacted. So the mental health issues, we're going to see more and more of those. We're going to see a lot of young people that are disengaged, that really need that support from business owners, business leaders, or those that are coming through your organization that can really, it can help them as part of their personal growth to be involved, to help them with their training, their development, to retain your staff. But it's also, like Paul mentioned, it's about, it's an opportunity for you to get your business out there so that young people really get to understand your business, what you do, so that you can inspire them, because maybe they really don't know about what goes on in a business. They just have a name, but they don't know what's involved and how they can be inspired to be your next, you know, young apprentice or young person that applies for that job. So I've seen already in the chat a few people that are already really keen to find out more, to get involved. So we will share the chat and everything with everybody, as well as the presentation and the video. I'm just going to see if we've got any hands raised, if anybody would like to ask Paul any questions at all. I've just seen in the chat, we've all got a story about a useless careers advisor. I think that the challenge that I hear as well about careers advice is some careers advisors, and I am generalizing here, so please excuse me, some have worked in education, but not necessarily in business. And they may not understand the sectors and the roles and how businesses operate in depth. So, and a lot of careers advice will be trying to point young people to, of course, higher education, that there's goals and expectations in terms of going into higher education. Some are just not able to go down that route, and they really don't want to go into higher education. So there needs to be other routes, and there has to be ways of how we can work more closely with careers advisors. I agree.
I'm going to wade in and defend the school community a little on that one, because I do think sometimes they get a bit of a bashing. I have to say, first-hand experiences this year, the schools that we've worked with and their staff, whether it be teachers or careers leaders, have been fantastic. Like, they really have gone the extra mile, because we've had to, every day is different, you know, delivering it virtually, fully virtual events, and, you know, some face-to-face and then hybrid with virtual mentoring. And, you know, the energy that they've approached it with, and the adaptability to make it happen, the determination to see it through, they've been fantastic. They've really stepped up to the mark. But it's like I said, you know, at the end of the day, schools, they recognize that they're educators. They're not geared up, and they don't have the internal knowledge or experience to provide those word-of-word insights. And even if they did, the kids wouldn't listen to them anyway, because it's the same person that's telling them not to run in the corridors, you know. So, you know, it needs to be someone external. And one thing I will say is, you know, I've spent a lot of time with senior leadership at schools over the course of this year, as we've been, you know, crafting what we're putting together, you know, to hit the right points for next year. And, you know, the pragmatism and understanding of what needs to be done, you know, and what's needed. You got some really impressive characters running these schools, you know, and it's and that's been really great to get an insight into. It's not been an area that I'd previously dealt with so much, but because it's been such a period of flux, we've had to have bigger and broader conversations. So yeah, just as a bit of assurance, but you're 1,000,000% right. You know, bringing those external people in, it's just rocket fuel to something that would otherwise be done internally.
Yeah, definitely. Just want to open it to the audience, so please do unmute yourselves and ask Paul a question or share any insights or ideas. Anyone?
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Paul. Can I say how inspirational that was, and what amazing work that you, your colleagues and everyone is doing there to reach out to young people who, as you identified, are finding some really difficult times at the moment. In my voluntary capacity, I'm the HR lead and safeguarding lead for St John Ambulance, and we've got a lot of young people that are finding it really difficult, having had that isolation and then coming out of school, then going back in isolation, and the whole whip-swap change has been really challenging, and it's dented confidence. I think what we're talking here is amazing, because you're looking at business leaders and people with great experience coming alongside and inspiring these young people with stories of hope. And I think if you can get that across, which you're doing so eloquently so far with what you've done today, so thank you. I think with more people supporting you in that, I think it gives a great deal of light of hope for these young people to know that actually we're all behind them, because they are our future. They are what continues our businesses into the future. And without them, it's going to be a very funny old place. So to you, thank you. And I hope a lot of people who listen back on this, read the notes, get behind you and make a big difference pushing forward.
Bloody hell, Andy, thank you. You don't fancy going on tour for us, do you?
Yeah, that'd be another thing to do, yeah.
Jokes aside, I appreciate the kind words, but whenever I do these events, it's quite bizarre, like just not being able to really see people or kind of see how it's landing. And I get a lot of stick internally, as you probably know, because I like to chat. So it's nice to hear that the message is landing. And yeah, just on your point of confidence, I spoke to a head teacher this morning, you know, and she framed it up in a slightly different way, but I thought it was really interesting. She said they're so passive, you know, they're so agreeable. It's just, you know, it's the bare minimum, and that they just don't seem to have any want to go any further than that. And, you know, there's just no, you know, there's no assertiveness or drive to go beyond that, you know. And I think, you know, when you think about the sort of the isolation and that side of things, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? You know, so I've never felt that there's been a more important year to get stuff like this in there. And that's echoed by, I've never had schools come into me saying, can you do year 9, 10 and 11? It's like, well, I will certainly try. Let me get back to you.
That goes to show how, you know, that the teachers fully understand what the last year has done for young people, how it's really impacted them. And of course, that the teachers are doing such an amazing job, but they can't do it all on their own. This is where they really need all of us to get behind you and other organisations that are doing amazing things with schools, to make sure we can help inspire young people and set them on the right track as well. give them that confidence to really succeed. So yeah, it's amazing that Love Local Jobs has been able to, the foundation has been doing this for a number of years. And I know that when I met, I think it was Gary, when I first met Gary, it was not through the Dare to Dream, but it was the Be the Change, seeing all of these youngsters and all the businesses. And it was so emotional. I saw what was happening, how the young people were changing, but all of the businesses at the back of the room, we were all in tears. It was so emotional, but really inspiring. And it's something that, we, not just for those that have got young people themselves, but I think if we can all try and do something to give something back to the local community, I think that would be amazing.
Amen.
I haven't seen any other hands raised, and I can see nobody else has actually unmuted them yourself at the moment, but please do let me know if you've got any questions. Whilst we're waiting, I just want to really add to what Paul has just said in terms of, we recently put in a bid. So nationally, the Department for Education have been looking at how we can do a lot more to understand the skills and the issues that exist in terms of what businesses are always asking for, what those gaps are. I sit on various skills groups throughout Sussex, and so there was an opportunity to put a local skills improvement plan forward, and Department for Education were looking for 8 companies or business-led organisations to lead this as trailblazers and pilots for the whole of the UK. It was also in conjunction with the colleges that put in a bid. So Chichester College Group put in a bid for all of the colleges across Sussex. So the Strategic Development Fund, their part of the fund was to look at the future skills in terms of green technology. And so that was put forward in terms of whether it's hydrogen, electrification, whatever that might be, decarbonisation. So they put in a bid for that. We put in a bid for the local skills improvement plan because it had to be led by a business organisation. And I'm very pleased to say that we were successful in that. So we are one of 8 trailblazers in the UK that will be leading on this. And the idea is not to duplicate or try and replicate what organisations are doing, like Love Local Jobs Foundation, or the skills groups, or the further education or higher education. It's to really make sure we engage with all of the businesses, all stakeholders, other business organisations, the town chambers, the FSB, the business improvement districts, local authorities, the LEPs, to make sure that we truly understand what the needs are, how we can address those gaps, and to come up with a plan. So there will be a lot more information coming out. We literally have a meeting next week with the Department for Education to find out a lot more. But for me, it opens up so many opportunities to make sure that we can be one of the leaders for the UK. So whether it means finding ways of how we can enhance this programme that Love Local Jobs has at the moment, with the Dare to Dream or Take the Leap or Be the Change programmes that they have, I think that would be amazing. And it's really inspiring young people, but it's also looking at reskilling, upskilling, and addressing other needs that we need. So it will not just look at young people, it will look at everybody and those future needs. So I thought I'd just mention that whilst we had a few minutes, and then come back to see if anyone's got any questions. I think everybody's been absolutely amazed with your update, Paul. Probably feeling very emotional, probably feeling very, inspired, should I say. And hopefully what we'll do is we will share the presentation, the recording, the chat as well. It'll be fantastic if all of you can contact Paul and find ways of how you, or maybe a member of your team, can be part of the programme and really help inspire young people and our next generation.
Yeah, I've just put in the chat, guys, a link to my LinkedIn, but also my Calendly. I don't know if anybody's used it. It's fantastic if you haven't tried it yet, because it cuts out all the faff of going back and forth to people in terms of trying to find a convenient time and you can both speak. So if you click on that link, you can just find the gaps in my calendar and book in a time and a call format that works for you, whether it's Teams or Zoom or a phone call or whatever. So yeah, if anybody would like to get in touch and find out a bit more about your organizations and your people getting involved, yeah, click on the link and book some time in. I'd be delighted to chat.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for
thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone for giving up your time. I really appreciate it.
And thank you so much, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.